Hello and welcome to Procrastination Point's video Snark. I read bad books so that you don't have to. I'm continuing my read-through of A Touch of Darkness by Scarlet St. Clair. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 5. Hades has his personal driver take Persephone home. As they're going, Persephone thinks about the impossible task Hades has given her. Will you be returning to visit Lord Hades? I'm afraid I will, Persephone said absently. I hope you'll find him pleasing. Our Lord is often alone. Nothing quite like some nudge nudge wink wink from literally every single character. We already know what's going to happen. You don't need to spill it out for us like we're 5. The driver Anatoly says that he thinks that Hades is lonely and that he trusts very few people. Persephone doesn't say so out loud, but it's like, I don't want to know any more about Hades, especially in response to Anatoly saying that Hades is looking to get settled down. Anatoly goes on and says that all of the Cyclopses, like himself, were freed from Tartarus, and as such, they willingly pledged themselves to the Big Three. Persephone is kind of upset over the thought of the Cyclopses pledging themselves to be servants forever, but Anatoly says that it was his choice and nobody forced him to do anything. When Persephone gets in, Lexa wants to know why somebody dropped her off like that. Persephone says that the car belongs to Hades and Lexa is even more surprised. However, she only really cares about how hot that Hades is, which makes her seem exceptionally vapid. But Lexa then starts talking about why Persephone was with Hades and jumps to the conclusion, urged only a little by Persephone, that she's there to write an article exposing Hades' treatment of mortals. Persephone decides that maybe it is a good idea. She can hold that power over him. The book then goes out of its way to explain to us that Persephone bought things to hide Hades' mark on her wrist. Like, it literally takes time to tell us this. She thinks briefly about how she's going to fulfill his request. She knows that he only asked it of her more of a taunt other than because he wants to see flowers in the underworld. She's determined not to fail, even if it means wearing gloves and doing it the mortal way. But enough about that. Let's describe the layout of the university. For no real reason. Persephone wanders through the campus gardens, which are littered with statues of the various gods, which are all naked, which seems weird when you think about the fact that these aren't just mythological story characters, but people who walk around and you could run into them, and they are just naked statues of them at the university gardens. But Persephone stops and contemplates the naked statue of Ares, but she thinks about his horns and her own. She says that horns are supposed to be the source of a god's power, but finds it funny because she never developed powers at all, which led to Demeter locking her away to protect her. Calm down there, Mother Gothel. Speaking of Demeter, she shows up then, and somehow found out about Persephone's trip to the club. Persephone decides to stick to her story of needing to go there for work, but this only just ticks Demeter off even more. I have go. I will be late for class. I really hope that this is my PDF and not just the fact that an actual published book would allow such a weird grammatical error to slide. Or at least tell me that this was self-published. Persephone goes to her classes, but she's distracted by everything that's going on around her. Lexa picks up on her friend's distraction and asks her about it. Persephone bemoans about her mother, to which Lexa scoffs over the entire thing. She reminds Persephone that she's an adult and can do whatever she wants. However, Persephone knows that Lexa doesn't have the full picture. At literally any time, Demeter could force Persephone back into what she views as imprisonment. The girls meet up with Adonis in the work building, and he invites them to go party with them later. Lexa leaves, but Adonis says that he's serious about it. Persephone then asks about writing about Hades and what he does. Adonis says that it's hard because the people who go to Hades go there willingly, but Persephone thinks that it's weird that the news company that promises to uncover and deliver truth isn't going after Hades. Adonis sends her some of the files about victims or the families of victims of Hades. She notes that all of them were in desperate need of something, which, no duh. I thought that we'd already established this. Adonis comes over after she's looked through the files and she says that she wants to interview him. Adonis talks about the hoops that she'd have to jump through, but Persephone knows how to bypass all of that, so they go over to the club. They go in, thanks to whatever Hades did to her in the previous chapter. Once inside, Minthy comes out and Adonis tells her that they're reporters. Minthy jokingly humors him at first, but then Persephone demands that Minthy go tell Hades that she's there, so she goes. Minthy is annoyed when she comes back to bring them up to his office. Up there, both Persephone and Hades act like they don't have an agreement in place, if only because Adonis is there as well. Persephone asks him to comment about all of the dead mortals who gambled away their souls. He does, but he also has a pretty tight defense, that they knew exactly what they were getting into. It was their choice. And then Persephone, she turns into a whiny brat over the entire thing. And I get that she's young and insanely sheltered, but come on, girl. How do you expect to be taken seriously as a reporter when somebody says something you disagree with and you resort to saying stuff like, "That's not fair"? Hades then makes Adonis pass out and pointedly tells Persephone that if she were to write about him while they're under their contract, then he will ensure that there will be dire consequences. Which, he never says anything about her writing about it once they're done. Following him saying all of this, Persephone is like, "You're a monster." But since this is right on the heels of her whiny "that's not fair" business not even a page earlier, this still carries the same kind of tone. Adonis wakes up then. As they go to leave, Hades says that he'll add their names to his guest list for the night. Outside, Adonis asks if Hades and Persephone have history because they had crazy chemistry, but Persephone denies any such history. Chapter 6. What do you wear on a tour of the underworld? I get that this is a good question to ask, but at the same time, Persephone honestly seems more focused on clothing than the fact that she's in a literal do-or-die contract with Hades. She wears a clubbing dress and heels, if anybody is interested. She thinks about needing to hike in the possible weather and ends up wearing a clubbing dress anyway. Persephone bypasses the line and is instantly let into the club. She seems to have some sort of mark on her, or maybe Hades just showed everybody her picture. Either way, she goes inside without any fuss. Inside, a satyr takes her up to the office and gives her some wine. As he's serving her, Persephone tries to get info from the satyr. He eventually says that Hades is protective over people he views as belonging to him. Persephone tries to say that she doesn't belong to Hades, but the guy's like, "Yes, you do." She stands for a while and watches the club goers down below. She can easily identify those who came for a good time and those hoping to win something from Hades. The latter all have a look of desperation to them, and she wants to be able to print her story soon so that she can warn them. Although, honestly, if they know about going to Hades in the first place, they probably know what it is that they're risking. Maybe Hades is playing off of their desperation, but I kind of agree with Hades on this one. They all know exactly what they're getting into. I don't really know what Persephone hopes to accomplish by writing about him. She then thinks about how Minthy had come into the office from a hidden doorway and starts trying to find it. One panel of wall is actually some sort of a hidden portal, and she goes through. She trips over some stairs and apparently hurts herself pretty badly. The initial fall makes it seem like she simply missed a little step. She sure didn't make that much of a fuss over it when it happened, but later Persephone remarks over how much her side hurt and how it hurt to breathe. She keeps going and finds herself in the underworld. She's more than a little surprised that it's full of life and wonders why he wants for her to create life there when it's obviously he's doing a great job of it already. She wanders for a while, not coming across anybody, although she wishes that she would, but then she comes to the sticks. She briefly pauses at the shore before she decides that she's going to swim across to the other side. Let me repeat that, for emphasis. Persephone wanders into the underworld and decides that she's just going to swim across the river Styx. It goes about as well as you might expect, and the lost souls who call the Styx their forever home try to drown her. She's pulled from the river after a while by Hermes, who wraps her in his cloak and tries to guess who she is. Hades shows up and flings Hermes away. Wow, what a nice guy. He gets angry at Persephone for having just wandered into the underworld, of which anybody who has access to his office could just stumble into. But then he also points out that she shouldn't have had to swim across the Styx if she just waited for him. And as much as I hate Hades' anger in this situation, I hate how stupid Persephone was. I kind of feel like if you have to be warned against swimming in the Styx, you kind of deserve what happens to you. But then the result of Persephone's fall as well as her attack in the river come back to her and she groans with pain. Hades then teleports away, and we will read about her adventure in his home next week. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to support me. The first is watching this video as well as all my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main Snarks, you can find even more Snark on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Plus, you also get early access to my main Tumblr Snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $3 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well. $3 for every 5,000 words. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and now 2 full-length novels. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys.